Welcome to the channel. This is Reliable Rudy. Getting a couple things set up and then we'll go over the intro. We got three title names: NVAX TGTX ATHM, three names from yesterday. But before we go into any analysis, any of the stock market, you guys know I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Everything in this video contains only my opinion, nothing more, nothing less. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy, everyone. Just a guy doing what he loves to do. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to try our best to learn from them, move forward, and be better moving forward. That's the main goal of this. And to also show you guys kind of what I'm looking for in trading and investing. Two different things. Two completely different things that is very hard for some people to wrap their head around. That trading and investing are two different things. We try to mix in a little bit of both. But obviously, the more flashy is the trading. When you get on something that's just running, it's a lot of fun. It's probably a lot uh, easier to watch that because there's more action, there's more volatility. But majority of the time when you're trading, I feel you're going to get those moves better from names that aren't really fundamentally sound companies. So that's what the difference for me, at least. Everyone's different. There's millions of different ways to trade. There's millions of different ways to invest. So hopefully everything is made clear with that. Just a guy sharing my opinion. So into the title names, NVAX actually looking, it was trying to hold above those 10s. I think this channel is a pretty okay thing to kind of go off of for right now. Closing above the 200-day, we're getting a slight gap up. What is it going to be like if it pulls back into this gap? That's all I'm going to be looking for. TGTX, a nice strong close. Closing above 11, opening right around 11. If I was just going to mark just these wick tops, that wick, all these wick tops in right here, it does have a little bit of a false break right there. But if it comes back into this, how does the price action uh, go when we retest in off that? Call it a support level. It's resistance now acting as support. You also have a nice trend line to fall back into if that support can't hold. So it's going to be interesting to see if this can continue this sort of churn to the upside. You can see the trend line kind of giving you that upward wedge pattern. Is that wedge pattern pushing up for these 1150s, 1180s, maybe up to 12, maybe. And the big part that I want to see is that we still have the alert right there. Is we want to see this break over top at the start of that gap and really catch a bid. And the one thing that I would mark is probably this kind of flat bottom. It gaps all the ways through that. Are we going to resist that if we get there? And of course, ATHM, we have 1 minute before the open. So I think on a red day we're gonna go over the NQ. I meant to live stream a little bit earlier, but had some stuff I had to take care of. And last night, a little bit of a wild night. Dog is extremely sick. And here's our open. So let's see, ATHM opening down here towards this 29. Let's get a refresh on everything. We can see Nasdaq short. The bank actually, Bank of America holding strong, Geo holding even. We got some names that are in the red down here. MSOS still holding strong. Soundhound is going to be on watch today. I don't know how accurate you can call this trend line, but you can see it starting to wick early. We open, this honestly could be set more so like this. Bros crossing 2770. I don't even remember putting that alert up there, but I think I did see that they were doing a. Hold on, we're gonna go take a look at end phase, giving out the lows. Let's start getting some alerts. Let's just get an alert right in front of those 120s and see how that can go. If that triggers 120s, we can maybe think about something. Geo turning green. We're gonna go and talk about the Nasdaq as well. Looking at some of these movers for today. IMPP getting a nice gap up. I still do think oil names are worth taking a look at. And we're gonna watch this Soundhound. I think Soundhound, this is gonna be last risk reward type of trade before we kind of get a stop loss in. It's just kind of figuring out where we'd want to put that. Is there something that you could say, yeah, potential trend line building in right here? CVS, we put that alert in yesterday on the stream. We'll go take a look at that. But I'm going to go take a look at Sound Down real quick because we are in a scenario where we got to think about potential exit on Soundhound. This one looks like it is. You got to ask yourself, why didn't, if this is what you are looking for in a pull for a bull flag, why didn't it pan out and start building that green move to the upside? But let's just go ahead and just get an order off right here for these 230s. It could have gave us 31s, but that's all right. And let's go ahead and put this alert in off of 29s and see if that is going to trigger. But we're going to give it a chance to try and hold it pretty close to this middle ground. You guys know I like trading around that middle ground. I think the big players are there. It's just going to take the right amount of volume to get this to push higher. If this can push up to 241s on that gap, maybe thinking about maybe exiting, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure. DocuSign, they are reporting earnings after hours. ATHM right into the trend line. So we are going to maybe think about adding some ATHM, but given the feel like, hey, you have the potential of a flat bottom break right here. So by no means is this going to be a sure thing. But each time it's been down here, it's been getting bought up off this sort of range. So let's see if we can get that same amount of buying pressure off of this. But red engulfing right into the trend line. Kind of the same feel as over here, but this is more of that gap down. So is this going to give us a flush? You have a clean negative break. What makes it a negative break is you push over bought and then boom, there's your clean negative break already into that oversold area. Looking at the daily chart, you can see there's your overbought. There is your negative break, reclaims. So at this point in time, I would say, 2850 is a reasonable area to think about maybe an out for the name. Maybe this isn't ready to go. Maybe this trend line is finally going to break down. So that is something to be a little bit concerning for. A little bit of an update on NVAX. NVAX was a stop out yesterday. We said we were going to give it the channel. We went to work and we said, hey, what is the most reasonable spot to put out? We said 30 cents. Right here, it tries to hold and gives it up. So NVAX, we were sad to let it go, but it was the right time to let it go. Not because it's down, but because we think that we have some areas down here that we can retry the area. TGTX holding green candle, a little bit stronger. Geo, not a half bad hold here at these 740s. Oil is still not too bad. The Dow is actually green. NQ, $1.25 out of the money. We'll go over the NQ at some point in time today. DFS, I like the green candle it's putting in. Fill that gap, and then whatever it does after, we will evaluate that later on down the road. BAC, reclaiming 2850s. We kind of adjusted that trend line just a little bit. 2807s one to filled, but we didn't have the order there anyways, so it's like, oh man. BAC, still trying to show some life. GM, we are not opposed of adding some GM, just the gap down. Let's see it show a level, hold the trend line, and then maybe we can take the neckline break. ATHM still holding this red candle. A little bit of the bid is coming in though. There isn't much of an ask. NVAX coming all the ways back in. How is it going to act down here at this 9 flat? Red engulfing through the level, giving you the feel of descending channel. So I would say in terms of the morning, this is giving the feel like, hey, let's be a little bit patient on some of these names. We have nothing that's over 8%, which is very rare that on a 600 ticker watch that we don't have anything like showing a significant amount. Path is really gonna just be one of those where we're like, man, we were really interested off this 1450. I mean, it was a 702 of this little push and everything looked good. It was just that red engulfing scared us to try in the position. Now, reported earnings, I skimmed through them a little bit, and I was like, dang, uh, that's 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 all right, but I really didn't think they were that great. Now catching a bid, so that just goes to show that sometimes you just don't know everything. So somebody knows something that I don't potentially. Who knows? Soundhound giving up 25s, End Phase giving up 120s. Looking at Soundhound, looks like this is going to be one where we're getting on closer to that area where, okay, it's about time we set a out for the name, and I'm looking at 218s. So we're gonna go 218s. If 218s stop us out, we gave Sounddown about as good of a chance as we possibly could, and we will cut the name if that comes on in. If these 25s can hold, great. If not, so be it. ATHM, I'm a little bit more interested in this name right here. And also End Phase. Giving up the lows, so by no means is it something that we're going to just rush into. But if it gets into these upper teens, I think it is going to be in an area that we are just not really buying for the chart. We're buying more so for just we think it's an undervalued name, and we're interested in adding more, just kind of playing it like a support level and not so much strength. As you can see, strength tried to get out of that oversold, dipping back into that oversold seems likely. How long will it take to catch a bid and get back into that closer to that middle ground? It never really got too close. Space Mobile, I'd say those 380s. We moved that good till cancel 380 down just to the gap, so we'll see if we can get a fill on Space Mobile off this gap. But same story. I mean, gives you the move and just tight consolidation. The market not really helping many of these names. Soundhound trying to hold these 25s. Let's take a look at some of the movers. Elox, top mover, no volume on the day. IMPP actually has some volume. So looking at this, we are out of that oversold area. This is an area we can probably put an alert off these 156s right here and see if this has any movement for it at all. Since the open, 16K of volume. NVAX wicking down bottom end of the channel, I'd expect some resistance if it were to catch a bit up to those 50s. Devon holding decent strength. TGTX actually putting in a green candle. I actually like this setup a lot better than really anything else, and it looked like just a dud type of setup when it was just trading sideways, but now taking out some levels on increased volume, getting closer to that positive break, looking actually definitely a little bit better than it was. uh, Looking at some other names, let's see if we can find some of these big losers. Oh my goodness, CrowdStrike. Oh man. Fundamentals for companies, everyone. And strength, fundamentals and strength. Add the two together, you can do a lot of good. Nikola, continuing the churn to the downside. How do we act at 91 cents? AMC, not catching any type of bid. Plug, trying to set a sort of a support level down. TMC, flat bottom break in a sense, potentially giving a crack of the trend line as well. Mara, coming actually into the green candle a little bit more, but you see that even that green candle was only just a little pop right there. Looking at more of these top movers to the downside. Docs, how we looking here? Let's see how it acts at the support level. The Franklins. The Franklin's actually trying to get that positive break. Gets in that oversold, tries to get that positive break. SPG, nice increased volume. Paid the dividend today, so let's see. There's your gap down from the dividends, right into another gap fill. So interesting little setup there. Let's flip it back to these top movers. Cannabis is still trying the churn, so MSOS has really been the strong suit of the day. This can get up to 875s. We're looking at taking some trims. Looking at TGTX. Let's go to this 15-minute and take a look. So we get a slight gap down, tries to make a push. I'm sure this is maybe looked at as a retracement into this little red move at the end of the day. I'd say if I was going to pick any of these top names, I'd probably go with Path. You're breaking a downtrend on earnings. You have definite volume increase. You can see the channel that's breaking right here. And you see the catalyst for a push top end of the channel. ATHM holding an indecision candle. It's down 3% on the day. It's not necessarily an indecision candle. It looks like an indecision candle, but it's not really. I'm sure it just kind of pushed up a little bit. I still see some oil names that are slightly in the green, so I mean that was kind of in multiple oil names in the green. Kind of expected. TGTNX or TNGX. Is this going to be able to catch a bid over 750s? Let's go get that alert right in front of like 740s right here and see if, yeah, a lot of oil names catch a bid. You know, looking at the NQ, now that we have a little bit of time, let's go take a look at the NQ here. NQ is trying to, you know, catch a little bit of support, but I'm gonna show you guys exactly what I did to kind of mark some of these levels out. Let's get our double back up there. Looking at the NQ, it catches a bid, it breaks over top of the neckline. Was the neckline going to catch any type of bid? It tried to yesterday, gives it up in the after hours or whatever you want to call it. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to mark the body candle of the neckline. It gives that false break, comes all the ways back in, sets a higher low and makes a move. Now I'm going to do two different things. We have our trend line. We're going to take a fib tool, top move, bottom move. Top move, or bottom move, top of the move. We're going to mark our 786, our 702, and our 618. We're going to we're going to move this to the bottom right here. Boom. Bottom of the move, top of the move. We're going to mark our 786, which is fairly the same as our 702. We're going to mark our 702, which is fairly the same as our 786. And then we're going to mark our 618, which meets in with the body of this candle and the wick, and also the body of this candle and the wick. So that's how I just identified the move right here, and then having the trend line in with that. You're getting a little bit of a negative break, but it's not anything that can't reclaim positive. So just because the NQ is down heavy, you're still on an uptrend. You look over at your weekly chart. Your weekly chart is still strong. You can see we actually have our 34 built in right there. Was it reasonable for this week to be a red candle and kind of trade back on in? Yes. But then a notable move is these three red weekly candles. You have one, two, three. So if this doesn't give a stair step type of action, discredit this bear flag in a sense. If we take this move from top of the move to the bottom of the move, you can see that could be looked at as a retracement. Anytime I'm looking at it as a full retracement, the first thing that's gonna pop into my head is that, is this a wave pattern? Is this a one, a two? You maybe try to hold the trend line. If the trend line cracks, I don't know if I would trust the support down here. I really don't know. If the support gives up, you're going to see this wave 3 pattern come in. How deep can it come on in? I don't know. I'd maybe a couple wicks of support right here for a small bid, but it's going to be hard to reclaim this without a trend line. And boom, just like that, you get your 5-wave pattern down to the original flat top support from before. Now, does it catch a bid from there? I don't know. I don't know. But we've been looking for some sort of catalyst to say, how can we get back down to this flat top support? And if you go look at your SQQ, which is sitting pretty. You can see confirmed higher low on your weekly potentially, but we've been trying to find a way, how can this retrace back up to these 28s? Well, here's your 1, 2, you catch 3, retest wave 1, and then boom, there's your 5-wave pattern structure to the upside. So I would say that this is reasonable type of setup where if you break over top of this neckline, catch a small bid, retest the neckline, and then you have that exhaustive wave 5 to retest previous support, which now resistance. This is my target where I would be looking for potential exits or definitely trims for the NASDAQ short. We're just going to clear everything and just kind of go back to our analysis that we have for the market. But I would say that short term, I don't think I would think that the NQ is eventually going to catch a bid somewhere in this. But how does it act when we retrace back up and fill this sort of support line up here? Or this gap that we gap down from. So I would expect it to try and retrace up. So in terms of the longs, I would say that there is still some hope. But we're going to take our attention off of that. And we're going to go over the TGTX, which TGTX is trying to catch a bid right here. Enphase giving out 120, Soundhound holding 25s. That's a decent first look. Invos trading down, Baba trading on down. Baba on a red engulfing to the downside, filling the gap as we speak. Honestly, I would say a part of me would say that you can probably buy this. You have a reasonable trend line that has been acting, not too bad. A lot of points of contact, but you have the gap fill with trend line protection. That is also something that I really like looking at. The only part I don't like looking at is the red engulfing. So is this something that catches a bid? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I would say if I was gonna pick something of these to maybe try, I would go with ATHM, also another China name, which has a very good looking trend line. You're not quite in that oversold, and you have a lot of the day left. You can have your out underneath 28s if you wanted, or run a deeper stop at 27, which is probably what's going to be in the cards for us. Where I would say significantly below. I don't know how much more room you can give this. You can give it this sort of trend line right here, where 28 seems reasonable. But looking at a green name, Intel is trying to be green. I would say this is also another strong name. You have a catalyst for top end of the channel for 40 flat. Not a half bad look on Intel. Significantly more strength than a lot of these other names, actually up 1.5% on the day if you're looking for just a safer, less volatile type of trade. I would say over top of these two highs over here is a great look. But it is notable that there is nothing that's really catching a bid except for some oil names. We can go take a look at oil. I would say oil, if the market's going to be bad and oil has this type of setup, breaking a downtrend, you had taking out the highs, you have a reasonable resistance to push up to in these 90s. It's got a only down a quarter of a percent and wicking into you know support from 2 days ago. I would say oil is not half bad. Or just play the unorthodox route and say, hey, we weren't able to get the lows on this NASDAQ short, but I think the NASDAQ short doesn't look half bad. Maybe even a catalyst for some sort of a channel, give or take something like that. Has a little bit of a breakout and need more information still, of course, but I would say a reasonable type of look. End phase is probably the most disappointing right now. There was a couple moments in here where I really thought that it was going to be able to maybe push over top this 132. But coming on back in, sometimes that's part of the game. Strength is your best friend, and clearly strength isn't there. But moving around, maybe INDO, but there's no volume on the name. Getting close to that positive break. You can see a little bit of increased volume over the days, but uh, maybe something there. Maybe. CVS slightly in the green. A weak name. I don't know how many more weak names we want to throw on there and try and play. So I would say, oil is probably your best look. It sucks to say that. A lot of people hate on oil. I don't know why, but a lot of people hate on oil. I think oil, and maybe if you're trying to play a weak name, I would say BAC has a reasonable trend line that's worth trying. TGTX coming on in, it tested up uh, to those 30s, inside those 30s. Is this going to be a washout top and have to come on back in potentially? ATHM continuing the wick into these 80s. Let's see what the tape's looking like here. Take a look back at path. Maybe a 17 flat hold. It sucks. You're trying to buy it at 14.50. Now you're interested off 17 flat. Maybe Hussa, but there's no volume here. Let's just look at our top volume for the day. A lot of red. Path, clear outlier. Fubo actually up 2%. Has some decent volume coming on in. Actually has a bull flag type of setup on increased volume when it takes out the high. It's a positive strength name. Maybe Fubo if I was gonna try and test the waters. Bros down 7% on dilution. I believe the news is. GROM with a share split. Interesting, perfectly timed share split. Look at this low that tries to set. Boom, gives a frowny face, gives a green candle, share split. A perfect opportunity A perfect looking chart for when this wants a share split. Let's get an alert over top of 680. Normally when you get a share split going, uh, you're talking about something that is going to start tanking back down to where they split from. But you can see the 15-minute nice green candle. Here's your first open. Tries to go red. Boom. Now the green candle fully engulfing. GROM. GROM. Is this something that we are interested in? It's got 600K volume already on the day for now a $6 name. That's actually significant volume compared to what it has done. The top of this red candle is 6. And right back into these 80s. We have 2 minutes 50 seconds left on this candle. If I was gonna try this, I would try uh, an out underneath of my levels. We're looking at like 75s, but it's a little bit of an interesting setup. We have 11 lots on 6, which isn't terrible. There's right through 19s. See if we can get this close to the 6. We might try this. And there's 30s. I had my chance. We only have 24 lots on 6, so anybody's ball game to kind of claim that space in the middle there. Minute 40 left. It is the top mover on the day as well. With actually, it has decent volume. It might not seem like a lot, but on a day like today, I think this might be something worth trying. One lot stacked on 20s now. Right back in the 6. Wide spread. We got a 30-cent spread. As soon as this gets to a tighter spread, we can maybe think about it. There's 6s rolling through the tapes. I'd like to see a candle close still. This candle hasn't closed yet. I don't like this wick. If you're looking at it as some sort of retracement, this is right in that range of your full retracement. Is that going to be something that can pan out? Just share split today. Okay, let's try it. We finally got the tighter spread right at the end of this candle. We're gonna get ready to mark it out if this wants to flush on us. We're gonna try it here. Let's see what we got. There's a candle close, a nice green engulfing candle, match the volume from the first candle, and we'll see if this can hold 6. If it can hold 6, we feel all right about it. But, not the most amount of size. We can think about getting more size if it wants to break down and go into these 80s, but right in the 6 and giving up 80s. So let's try and add a little bit. See if this can get anything closer into those. And let's try that right there. And now we're going to get ready for an exit. right into these 80s, right in the 70s. Let's do one last order right here, and we are going to get ready for an exit. Oh boy, only 50s on the tape. And right into these 50s. Still think there's some hope right here. We're sitting at 66s. We're just out right at 540s. TGTNX, a nice 3-candle move. I like the hold on this name. Soundhound trying to catch a bit higher, but I would expect rejection. NVAX right at 9. Let's get a refresh on the take a drink of coffee, sit back. ATHM still trying to hold this level. TGTX testing up to these 1150s, maybe getting closer to the range where we can think about some profit take. GM down into this 32 level. Is GROM going to be able to hold these candle lows called 550s? ATHM putting in a green candle trying to hold 29s. I'd say this is one that we're, and it looks like we did just get a fill on ATHM, so more than likely looking for a stop. NVAX giving up nines, breaking through the bottom end of the channel on negative break. Let's clear out everything. Just see what type of setup we can look for. Potentially some sort of ascending channel, give or take like that. TGTX, a nice little churn to the upside. ATHM, right back into these 28s. End phase, probably having this increased volume candle right here is probably stops of this first wick of the day, in my opinion. Is that going to be enough to send it down to these 117s? We're out of alerts, that's fine. GROM back up to these sixes. Tried to catch a bid. Buyers in the middle of that green candle. Honestly, I would say this type of setup is setting up to break down. But if it can discredit that, potentially something that can take out the highs. So we'll see with this name. And here it's trying to reclaim sixes. No lots on 6. We got 2 lots on 590. That's all we got. See if GROM can reclaim sixes, and it has. So a couple good ads. Our best fill was a 74, but not out of the woods yet. We only have 1 lot on 90s. Is it going to be something that can push higher? We're going to find out. 5 minutes left in this candle. Nice wick of buying into that green candle as well. And there's trying to push higher. We have a 40-cent spread for the longs to try and claim it. And here we are getting some lot sizes over sixes, and this is kind of that area that we are looking for a pump, and we might get this pump right here. I'll be damn. Yeah, let's go start getting some off here. Oh boy, we are gonna have some fun with this puppy. If this wants to keep going, and the bid is pushing higher. Let's start getting outs right here. This is going to be a monster trade for us. Taking a first fill right there. Let's see where that fill comes in at. And we got 75s there on the first fill. We'll see if this is something that can... Oh my gosh, we're halted to the upside. We got that fill in before this halted. Oh boy, let's go. Let's go adjust this title name. Oh boy, just give me just a moment, guys. Oh man. Oh man, this could be potentially our best trade of the year. Potentially. Could potentially be on our best trade of the year if this wanted to fly, but this is halted right at our alert price. Oh my goodness. My goodness, we even got 75s just before the halt. Oh man, I am my hands are shaking right now. My hands are shaking right now. My hands are shaking right now. Hold on. I gotta make a call. I'll be right back. Okay, so it looks like the tap. I went and pulled up the tap for this. It looks like GROM's tap is gonna be 675. So we're gonna have a flat open right here. And let's see what time it says. The resumption time is gonna be I can't see when it's supposed to be unhalted. Be right back. Holy buckets, we are open. Let's go get a market print on this. Just wait. Oh my gosh, what the hell is going on? Sell some market right there. There's a print. Is this gonna halt up again? Let's go back to the 15. Good lord. Halted again. Oh my gosh. We got one print there. I mean, are you not entertained? This is gonna be my best trade of the year if it just absolutely rips higher. But this setup right here, halting up again, that's how fast it happens, guys. That's how fast it can happen. Oh my goodness. This is... Wow. Wow, we got 770s right there. Wow. That's unbelievable. GROM halted again. Whew, man, my fingers are tingling here. My fingers are tingling. I'll be right back while this halt is going. We're not moving off of this chart. So if you guys want to see something else, oh my God, TNGX getting over these 40s. This could be another one that we could actually go for here. If we're feeling frisky enough, I mean, you can see the daily chart as this support at 750 is pretty. Uh, wow, I let's go ahead and try this. I don't see why we shouldn't. We just got a fucking, or excuse me, my bad. Just a monstrous move on GROM. Let's see if this is gonna have any follow through in it in itself. We had this on watch yesterday. We never pulled the trigger. But let's just get a small position built right here. And we'll alert this for a retest of 36s. I don't see how else we should play that. The tap on GROM is over 8, so we are going to get ready for a market print on this immediately when this opens. And we're going to be ready as soon as this unhalts. And TG and X, where is that at? Right here. So let's just not adjust anything. We're going to put those right next to each other. These are the two plays we're looking at. Be right back. I'm going to have my eyes glued for when this opens up. And we're back. Looks like everything's trying to catch a bid here. Sitting above 29s. Oh my God, why did I go off a GROM? I don't know when it's going to open. Soundhound retracing up to the gap. Honestly, probably worth a sell right there. Let's look at TG and X. Coming back into these 30s. That's fine. We only have a small fill on the name. GROM, we're just going to throw both of these names up here actually. Where we can keep watching them. It looks like the tap is going to be above. Swim is another halt name, now that I'm looking at these halt bands here. But it doesn't look like we have a resumption time. It wasn't a 5-minute halt, or I could be getting ready to open right now if it's a 5-minute halt. Invos, trying to catch a bid above my out price from yesterday. TNGX, let's take a quick peek over at this. TNGX. Let's try and get one more fill on the name. Let's go right off those 738s and get back to that GROM. Gotta get back to the GROM. Not the daily for this. You know, the 8 could be a monstrous break level. But definitely going to be respected. Then after that, we have the flat bottom. I wouldn't be surprised to see 11 print here. I think we did just get a fill on those 38s. I thought I seen it there. TGNX just gave us our fill. TNGX. Soundhound giving a retrace down. BDRX. Maybe something there. We're not gonna try and add too much to our plate. We're just focus on GROM. When is this gonna open back up? So all we want to see is GROM. It's gotta be opening up here soon. Doesn't look like we have. There's another halter RVYL as well. TNGX giving us an alert right there, and back into all the ways back in right here. So that is going to be into question if, and GROM is open. Oh man, we missed that 820s. Let's see if we can get back up there. And there is. Let's take a fill right there. I don't see why not. Coming on back in. Let's see where our price is going to be. We got 78 fills there. 78 fills there on a. We got 878 filled there. Halted to the downside, it looks like. We did get 78s filled there though. 878s filled. Man, I should have been ready for just a full out. Oh boy. Open tap at 6:30 is what I just heard. Uh, that's too bad to say that this open tap is gonna be 6:30, but we did get a 878 fill. Oh man, if we would have just punched out everything there, would have been fantastic. We'll see how this can go though. GNGX indecision candle, so could have been a little patient for that, but we think that this has potential for maybe an extension, but just trying to get that early fill before this 750 break. If it can break 750, that is what we'll be looking for. We think that an open tap down here at 630 could catch a bid though, but if it really starts flushing, we do not want this to halt against us. But it can catch a bid from those that wick up to 9 though. That is a little bit scary. Gonna have to be extremely fast on our keys here. This is a 5-minute halt, then we should have about 16 seconds before this opens. Let's see where this is going to open out. Let's see if it can get continuation. Hard rejection of that sort of resistance level right there. So it looks like it's not a 5-minute halt, or it would have been opened up right here. I'm just gonna take a drink of coffee. If it frickin' opens up, I'm probably gonna just drop my entire cup. I'd say a tight out would be 5. If I got the 5, I mean, this thing is going to absolutely dump. TNGX catching a bid, so a couple market fills in there. Actually, we had one limit off at 37s, so uh, early start. If that breaks 750, we like the way TNGX is setting up as well. But we're coming up on the 10-minute mark on GROM. This should be opening up any second. If it's a 10-minute, if it's a 15-minute, and we're gonna have some more time to wait. But this should be opening if it's a 10-minute, any second here. So maybe it's oh, here's the open. We'll see if it can hold these 640s. It caught an uptick, so it's not going to hold down on us yet. Caught an uptick, so not halting down on us yet. Catching an uptick. Come on, baby. We're just making sure that this isn't going to halt down on us again. Come on, 650s. You can hold. I got faith in you. I have complete faith that you can hold here. There's 660s jumping on the bids. There we go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Just don't flush. Just don't flush. Just hold strong. And here comes a flush. 31 lots on 50s. Do not take those out. There's an uptick. It's taking out 50s right now. Is it going to take out all the 50s? There's an uptick. Come on. There we go. Keep upticking. Oh boy. I haven't seen an uptick at all. There's an uptick. Nice, nice. Come on. Take out 50s. There's a couple upticks. There we go. There we go. Hold these 50s. Hold 50s. Go halt up, baby. We're going to take a piece right there. Just give us a little bit of comfort. Oh boy. There we go. Keep pushing. Don't tell me it's halted. Not seeing any upticks. Let's see where that fill came in at. Should have been 64s. It's not bad. There's an uptick. Nice. Just don't halt. Just don't halt down. Trying to work out which way this wants to go. Oh boy, there's 30s coming into play. Need an uptick. Need an uptick. Need an uptick. Need an uptick. There we go. There we go. As long as it can uptick. Oh boy. There we go. There's an uptick. Oh boy. Oh boy, we're down to 6s. Back to the original entry. Here we are. Trying to hold sixes. It's a good sign. You know, if I wanted to play aggressive, I could try and reload it here as it's trying to hold these sixes. Here we go. Took out those 25s. A decent look. We got a minute left on this candle. Held six very well. Take out these 35s. We got 7 lots there. 7 lots at 35s. 18-cent spread. Bid is pushing up. Bid's holding 28s now. Bids holding 28s. Bids are holding 30s. 1 lot. Tight spread. Gave up 30s. See if these 18s can hold. We just want to see a 6 hold. For this to hold, they would have to drop down to 70s. They'd have to drop down to 70s before we get that. At the open of the next candle. See if this is gonna flush in through 6. If it gives up 6s, I think we're just gonna cut the name. Take the win. Could have been a lot better. You know, when I was up at 9, we got a 878 best fill. I could have just freaking cut the whole thing. Honestly, it would have made the day. But now we're scrapping down here in the 6s again. I can't even focus on the other trade that we took. And 610's on the bid. There's an uptick. And here 6s are about to give up here. Gave an uptick from. Oh, we gotta get out. We can't risk that. And there's an exit of the position. I can't risk it down halting on me and then open tap underneath. I can't take the gamble, and that's why, because this is gonna halt down now. As soon as it gave up 6 right there, there's no point. There's no point. Uh, there's an uptick right there, so now for a halt down, it'd have to come down to 520, which, you know, maybe this is something we can throw an order off of 550s, but I just don't see any need to play around with it anymore. Our out came in, so we did on one of our fills that we had left. We lost 16 cents. In the other fill, we made 10 cents. So could have played this, all in all, a lot better than what we did. And we wouldn't be surprised if it went and ripped for a day's high. But it's just, I don't know if it was something that, it had a nice uptrend building in right there as well. But all it would take is an open tap below like 450 and boom, just like that. would happen so quick, and we wouldn't be able to try it. So yeah, I'm not the most experienced in these halt plays, but a very good learning experience. Getting the entry in this green candle, early signs of potential uh, catalyst to move, and it ran right up to that level that we wanted to get out, and we probably didn't cut enough. Is the honest and simple way of putting that, is that we didn't get out enough. But all in all, we made out pretty decent on the name. So nothing to be down about. Now we can focus on elsewhere. ASTS. How about that? Uh, 75 gap fill right there. Gaps up. Been waiting for it. Trend lines meeting in with it. Great fill. Uh, TGNX. Given this slow churn, if this can break 750, we think that we have a winner. But convincingly through this sort of downtrend right here. Probably not a perfect downtrend set. Yeah, man, I'm gonna have nightmares about Grom. We could have easily just got out of the entirety of, even off of the open, if we just said, hey, let's get out. It was still a very, very good trade that we just didn't take enough on. But in terms of the fills that we did have, we got 675, 770, 878, and a 664. I mean, trying to wick into this level, realistically, it might not be a bad play to try it and put outs underneath 44s. That was my original stop. Let's go see what the tape's looking like. No, I'm not. I'm done with the name. I'm gonna move it even out of this range right here. Move it down here so I can't even be tempted. We're gonna click off the TGNX. Now to the other trade of today. I took this live. We got 46 market and 37s and 37 limit order, just saying, hey, if this wants to pull back in, and now starting to get a breakout. So from one name to the other, let's have a go at it. Let's see if this can really get bullish on this 750 break. Over top of 61s, to be precise, 64s. Probably worth a small trim, but it's getting going here. So let's switch over from GROM over the TNGX. Bid stacked on 50s, which is a good sign. Let's just take a small fill if we can get the bid stacking up to those 60s. And we're going to go start with 5% trims and go from there. ATHM probably could have took advantage of that a little bit better. N-phase, given that false wick through those 120s, not a bad look there either. Invos, given the type of bull flag setup off of, is that a wick into the bottom end of the trend? Potentially. Well, let's look at the top movers for today. BDRX, we said it didn't have a half bad look. In the middle of this candle, you have a tight consolidation, boom. Kind of just a flat top, small flat top break, and reclaim 6, and boom, off to the races. So a 6 break was a pretty decent look there. Soundhound still trying to, it filled the gap down. So if it comes back in, I feel pretty good about the hold with the name. What's the NASDAQ doing? NASDAQ, from the open, trying to catch a bid. Is it going to have the strength to at least push up to this previous low? That's what I would be focused on. TNGX, let's see where the bid is at. The bid's on 54s. We're looking off first trims for 60s. And we're going to start ringing the register on this name. Honestly, TGTX, wicking up towards those 50s. Setting up the kind of bull flag consolidation. Is this going to start breaking out? path. We said if there was a name, this was the name that was getting volume on an earnings play. You can see the tight channel, ascending channel to the upside right there, give or take something like that. NVAX, how's it going to act down here? Back to the trend line. Let's just mark that 860. Gave up nines, which was a support, I would say. Held it nicely before the little breakout. Well, now, how do we act when we come back into the channel is what I'd want to know. TNGX, given that wick top a little bit, but still, I think the bulls have a lot of the control here, and the bid is not stacked on 50s. So, uh, possibly some resistance needs to be made here, but we like the name, and I think the daily chart has the setup for you where it's giving you that churn. You have the downtrend break. Is it a perfectly set downtrend? Probably not, but not a half bad look. ATHM, actually a green candle from the open, but you can see it's still just trying the trade sideways. How does it act if it comes back down here? Are you gonna have trend buyers or not? Is the question that you're gonna have to ask. Fubo, we said, that was honestly a pretty decent look. We were looking at the second candle, and it was you look at the daily chart for it, you can see the catalyst for it opens down. Here's your gap fill buyers. It had early signs of showing you that it has the buyers here. Opens above 250, but doesn't flush down and test 250. It just stays with that little bullish trend. And now, like a clock, trying to test up to that 3. So it would have been something decent there. MSOS, catching a bit of a bid. We didn't get anything out on this name yesterday. Let's just go ahead and get a small fill on the name and ring the register. That is almost $3 in the money for us. So we'll take a fill on MSOS. Keep building that liquidity up. Geo continuing to reject 750. Is it going to be able to trade sideways enough and then break 750? That's what you're going to want to have to ask. End phase wicking down as low as, I thought we had an alert on this. Go right in front of 75s. And other than that, I would say Baba trend line coming into play. We looked at it first when it was at the gap. Now coming right into the trend line, so a decent look. GROM still trying to hold some indecision here. Wicks is low as 52, so that 45 stop would have barely held. Actually could have wicked this out, honestly, but still trying to hold the trend. AWM. Nice actually build. We haven't changed this trend on NRG, but if I was gonna adjust it, I'd adjust it just like that. And take a look at that, setting up the flat top for a test up to that 40 gap. I mean, I would say if you're looking for a continuation, this is a 6% continuation move, not a half bad look. Whoops. TNGX. Man, I got too many that start with a T. TGTX and TNGX. TGTX, given that nice U build, I I really think this get some sort of test up to these 50s. In personal, humble opinion, Invos, I would say it's not out of the question to expect some sort of retest of these low 20s. Wick top up into that. That's a little bit scary, but still light volume. This could easily come back in and still catch a bid. You got your levels working for you. CGC, I don't think we're gonna have the courage to try that after missing it in those low 40s, literally by like fractions of a penny. That is just extremely tough. I mean, we still probably have it set the same way. Yep. Fractions of a penny. And fractions of a penny. Unbelievable. That I shouldn't have even put it up here because it gives me nightmares just looking at it. Fractions. But what do you do? I mean, would have just been a slight 100% move. No big deal. What can you do? Nothing you can do about it. Soundhound, is that going to be anything worth? Uh, I just don't know. I would say it has some hope. It filled that gap. If it wanted to start giving some sort of churn, we still think that 270 break would be legit over top of that start of the gap right there. Honestly, I'd feel a lot better about this ASTS. It's got a legitimate descending channel right here. If this is something that can catch a bid, it could enter into that oversold. I would say that's your crack of the trend line. End phase claiming 20s. Let's see what this 15 minutes like. Uh, Elevated volume. Significantly, you can see that. Got 7 seconds left on this candle. Can it continue holding these levels and then catch a bid? GROM still sitting down there. I would say, yeah, I just gotta stop looking at GROM. I don't even want to look at it at all. Path, man, this one really sucks though. I mean, we really were interested around this 1450. I mean, you can see the support level off this 1450. Boom. Gives it up, claims, bull flag happens there. Gives it up, wick into it before the continuation. Man. Oil green are about to go green. A nice upward churn, nice volume increase as well. MSOS, are we going to get, let's set an alert for the 60s and we can go maybe think about getting another piece off up there. Discover, strangely still holding 90s, but you're going to see the frowny face being built. All it would take is to catch a bid off these 88.75s, and there's your neckline break at a 92. TNGX, not quite giving that breakout yet. We should be getting an open of the candle. It's been a whole minute. So just light volume, but some of these plays just need a little bit of time. You can see that you got the slow churn to the upside moving here. Oil is actually catching a nice little bid, but below the trend. How would it act on a retest of 60 right into the bottom of it? ZI green on the day. A nice 1750 hold. You can see where you can probably tell where we're going to be trying this. Looking for a one more leg down where we're gonna start buying the knife on this. TGTX continuing the churn. You can see, is he gonna have the strength to push up? You can see the nice green move, actually elevated volume. That's yesterday. Uh, yeah, about even volume from what it was doing, but consistent green volume on this move up. Consolidation candle gets increased red volume, but it has wick of buying and a wick of selling, and now showing you that, hey, we're trying to take out these wick tops right here. So a nice little look on TGTX. IPR, not a perfectly set chart by any means. But you can see the catalyst. You can see the catalyst for a channel build. Potential outs up the top end of the channel. I mean, this 88 level that it's at is a monstrous level, and it's over it. It's over it. You got the flat bottom break, kind of a false break, tries to hold it, reject, reject, reject. 3 rejects on the way to the downside, sends it all the way to the 60s. Sets a nice double bottom, and then a nice stair step action following this channel. I don't see any reason why uh, it wouldn't get rejected up here, but it could be temporary as MSOS showing a wick into the top end of that red candle. I don't see GROM up here. I'm not even going to keep scrolling any more than that. End phase above 120s, showing that wick. It's going to need to work some levels out still, in my opinion. BABA leaving a wick right into the trend line. ATHM holding a green candle. Could have added more. Take a look at the top volume for the day. First green name is Tilray, then Path, and Fubo, continuing the churn. Look at Fisker. It's honestly a pretty good look. Getting a positive break while taking out the highs. Pull back into 6 would be probably a decent order for a potential test of the flat top up at 7. So you're looking at a 16% move, give or take. When's that dividend? Coming up soon. ARAV. There it is. TNGX. Right back up to the 750 range. Let's see what the tape's looking like here. Just out of curiosity, I do want to take a look at GROM. Still holding that 50 range like a glove. TNGX rejecting 50s. Intel, nice move. I mean, other than that, I got nothing else for you guys. Uh, Kind of a day that it might be best to just kind of sit back. I mean, we had some, we felt were some decent ads. We had Soundhound off of these 30s, had the stop in, stop held strong. Alert never even got triggered after we put it in. Uh, ASTS, we've been talking about this 75 gap. We got direct fill. The fill did trigger. And now catching a bid up to these 86s. Only, I can go check the average. I'm sure it only lowered our average down a couple pennies. Wasn't the greatest fill, but I mean, it was something. ATHM, we were having our eyes on it down near this trend line, looking for the quadruple bottom over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If that is something that wants to pan out, we're looking for this sort of trend line to break and give us some movement to the upside. No fills, no sells on the name yesterday, even though we watched it directly go into the downtrend. We're looking for a bigger type of move for the name, in all honesty. Are we going to get it? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. We feel the fundamentals of the company are reasonable. But I mean, other than that, there's nothing really. In terms of the investment side of things, I mean, NQ gapping down below the level, right around that middle ground there is probably longs worth the look. I'd be surprised if they weren't. But uh, honestly, our day could have been completely different if we would have played Grom a little bit differently. Uh, Significant move that it had, and we didn't take enough out. Uh, it was a good learning experience dealing with Halt names. I don't have the most experience dealing with them, but one thing I will say, it is nice to have the name before it halts. But more aggressive selling it next time will be part of the play, even if it keeps going higher. I mean, looking at it, I mean, we're right at 75s. It's trying to wick into this sort of trend line, but I would say um, looking to reject it. Large increase of selling pressure on this move back in. I would say if it was gonna have a chance, I mean, 650 should have held, in my humble opinion. But now it's like, okay, you're playing this support level. So I mean, if you were patient enough, I'd say your risk reward is good. You just risk getting wicked out. Where you're out, if you're running below these wicks, is over 50 cents. So that's a halt band in itself. Invos, we did get out of Invos. We didn't want to give back any more of the gains. But I mean, it's catching a bid today. It's up 6%. It closed around 28.50. Opens up, trades down, catches a bid. And then of course Soundhound trading down to those 25s, trying to catch a bid. Is this trend line anything worth holding any weight to? I'd say you could easily say that it's breaking that trend line and rejecting it. Just depends on how you want to look at it. TNGX still getting a lot of wick pressure into that. But looking at the daily, I mean, if this is gonna give us a break, we gotta see 64s come in. If we see that, we wouldn't be surprised to see this make a push. You know, clear resistance level up here at the 830s. But you know, even marking the body of the candle, I think that's worth respecting on the way up. FVR, let's just get rid of that. Excuse me. A nice neckline break. I would say this was the double bottom, so you're looking at a neckline break, wick, wick, green candle, wicking back into the level, now holding a great price on a positive strength name. Amps, wicking down in, just keep coiling down to this trend line is what we're looking for on amps. PayPal gives up that tight uptrend that it had. Slight sign of it yesterday. Are we going to come back in and test these lows? If we do, this is going to, you can see all the markings that we got right here. That is where we're going to be interested. GM trading down towards this trend line. I'd say if we weren't giving it a day, we'd be looking for a pop, fill the gaps at a higher low. But until that comes in, we're okay with the GM position that we have. End phase giving out the lows. Let's see it retrace up, fill this gap, and see if it can hold some levels. But we have some levels that we are looking to buy on the way down. Discover makes a move, tries to get over top of these lows. You have an 875 gap that we're going to be interested in. Meta, strong move. One of the, I guess, Amazon slightly green. Baba leaving that wick down towards that, but still looks like a weak chart on the 15. Other than that, if we were looking at top movers for the day, BDRX, giving a bull flag setup, path, continuing to follow this tight channel to the upside until it doesn't. Fubo, nice move. Pull back in to 85 seems reasonable before it could catch another bid. Who knows? Farm, GNS, decent volume. MRSN, AGBA. Go get the daily here. Looks like junk. Double top, come on in. Boom. Reject the downtrend. TCAT. Not a bad look on TCAT. VHC. I would say you do have a trend line on the natural gas, but not oil. There's your difference. So I'd say if you were going off of natural gas, I mean, it looks good, but looking at oil, just trading a little bit differently. NVAX still holding below 9s, but you can see middle of the green move. Is it going to be able to hold sort of these lows right here? ENGX wicking down below, or right into the level here. Intraday gap at 35s. Let me take a look at that. Bids at 36s right now. K-View. Giving up the levels. When does this knife kind of quit? ATHM, printed 24s right there. Started to fill that gap to the upside. Apple looks like a perfect example. So let's show you the example of why the 702 is deadly. Boom, gap down shows you probably a crack of some sort of trend. Early signs of it, you had 2 days, a day and a half to identify that and say, hey, I think it could get out or take some profit. Boom, gaps down, sets a level, trades in. Looks like it has some support that tried to hold up right around this range. Doesn't quite get there. Put a fib tool, top of the move, bottom move. As soon as this nut up or shut up candle comes in, you got a boom. Bull flag, takes out the bull flag. Even the day before, sets up the flat top, boom. As soon as it does that, just run that fib tool, top move, bottom move, identify the 702, and just like that. Can of corn. Can of corn. I don't know how else to put it other than that. I mean, that's, clear as day. That's the idea of the retracement pattern. And just, you can see the red candle yesterday starting. You could say, hey, it's a strong name. If you had already respected the 702, you maybe even were thinking about reloads. But now you get the gap down. Now you're just begging for support to hold. If this plays out how it could, give out the level, probably trade in. You have some decent flat top support. You have a gap. You have another gap. Um, that's pretty self-explanatory. You have another gap down even a little bit lower and another flat top down here, where you then catch a little bit of a bid, retest the flat bottom break, and then you get that exhaustive move down to the downside. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 150s print. Even from there, then you're looking at it as a retracement. Maps out pretty well. So I like buying this support a lot better than buying this biddy support. You do have some tops that are coming in right here, so maybe, but I don't know. TNGX didn't quite get that 750 break, but we do like how it's setting up. We have a lot of time left on the day as well. Take a look at the schedule for today. Let's go take a look at this 15-minute. Right at the intraday gap. How does it act right here? 4 minutes left. You have the decreasing volume. It tried to break out a little bit of a volume spike, but not really a lot of eyes on the name. Less volatile is all I'm focused on. It doesn't look like I have anything on the schedule for today, so looks like it could be a pretty boring day for me. So that means we'll be live streaming. Maybe we live stream the DocuSign earnings. Looking at DocuSign, you see the frowny face, but you see the move, you see the wick into the move. But yeah, now that I see that we're not on the schedule, what's ATHM? Man, that is a resilient trend line. Absolutely resilient trend line, if I don't say so myself. It's actually impressive. I respect it quite a bit. Uh, Mr. Charles, how we doing? What does low volume and upward price mean? Maybe you can give me an example of one that you're looking at. But some people hold a lot of regard to the volume, which they should. The more eyes that you can have and the more liquidity, when you get the setups that you're looking for, uh, a lot of times, if you are right, the liquidity is going to get taken off the books, and but um, all that matters, Charles, and this is GNS. GNS. I should have known. My bad, Charles. I should have known. I haven't really looked at GNS today. Looks like it's on a nice 11% day, volume of 2 million. So all I would say about this move is that more liquidity has been taken off the books. Yes, you'd like to see more volume, which I'd say 2 million in volume, so you got a little over 2 mil in liquidity. The big thing I would say is that this nice looking candle, the price does hold, and that's coming in right at a 1 level. Is that 1 level a support level? You have a wick top right here that I would like to mark, and it tries to trade down, washout bottom, boom, shave candle, bull flag, sets up the flat top on this wick, takes out the flat top, you get the gap up, and now right back into that support level. So one, holding good. The one thing I would say, your big players are around middle ground. That doesn't mean, and that's big players short and, one second. I would say the middle ground is big players short and big players long. So if it's meant to be, then this is the area you'd want to see it catch a bid. You do not want to see this claim negative because that is a fresh negative break in my book. And why? And what makes it a fresh negative break is you here is an example of a fresh positive break because you enter your oversold, you get a positive break, and you enter your overbought. So when you enter your overbought, as soon as you get that negative breakdown, you have to come into question of what is going to exit from over here. Where is your price action at when you enter this positive break? And I would say it's somewhere in these two green candles. So your golden entry based off of strength in my eyes is 80 cents. Let's look at a 15-minute chart though. I would say based off your 15-minute, you're getting a positive break and your volume's actually picking up right off your positive break here. But anytime I see red moves to the downside, I just want to be sure that it's not a retracement. So right here, if it is a retracement, I can see we gap down from Tuesday to Wednesday right at your 702. So I'd have that marked, and I'd have your 618 marked at 119. So for anybody who's got the entry today, I would say reasonable outs for trims, keyword trim, is no, this is a CCI, a Commodity Channel Index is what that stands for. And I set that to 50 days of trading right there. The natural set for it is going to be uh, 20, depending on the brokerage that you use, but it's just a Commodity Channel Index. And I mean, just because you're getting a positive break right, it doesn't mean that it can't flush. It's just uh, you want to try and add as many confluences uh, of the trading as you possibly can. And strength is just one that I use. And honestly, off of a 15-minute chart, I hold a lot more weight to my daily and my weekly. So you see your daily is still holding strength. Your weekly has not given you that positive break yet. So you can see if you're taking this candle move, you kind of have a washout top and then a red candle that comes in here. Is this going to get any type of selling pressure in the middle of this red candle? If I was looking at this as a 15-minute chart, I would say, okay, you have the move that's taken out this wick top. Check. You have the buyers that are holding it above that price. Check. You're still putting in higher movement. You can see the tight sort of channel that it's setting over these 3 days. Check. And it's still holding above that wick price. Well, now this red candle comes in. If I'm looking at this as a bull flag, where here's your move to the upside and then here's your move to the downside for your pullback, you want to see this build some sort of U-shape, smiley face type of move, but this first pullback candle gives you a lot of leeway of what it does. So, so let's see if I can find an example. Let's go to NVAX. NVAX should have an example based off of a 15-minute chart of a bull flag pattern. Nope, no good examples there. I'm going to try and find a good one. This is actually not bad. So you got 3 green candle moves. Now, what does your volume tell you on this 3 candle move right here? Now, just because the price goes down doesn't, there's so much that goes into it. So this might not be the greatest example, but this is an example of something that passes the rules. You have 3 green candles of increased volume. You have a healthy green candle with increased volume. This first candle, if this is all you could see right here, if this So hopefully you can see that. If this is all you could see right here, one, you want to see the middle of this green move catch buying pressure. So check, you have a neckline that it's trading into. It's trying to hold those 850s. Well, now you see the next candle open. You can see I'm already telling myself that with this red candle that's coming in right here, I'm expecting some type of selling pressure in the middle of it. So all I would do is I would mark the wick low of this candle and I would mark the body low of this candle. And I'd want to see it get through this price action. You can see the next candle actually opens up green, and you can see you're expecting some type of selling pressure to come in right here. But then when that selling pressure comes in, you want to see that original level hold. Now in this scenario, clearly people at outs are more willingness to sell than buy underneath of this 840. Well, then you trade back down and you get your trend line. Well, now you have sort of a bull flag type of look, not anything significant. This is, I'd have to go to a 30-minute chart. So I try to make my moves into 3 green candles. So you can see 3 green candles, you have 1 consolidation candle, you take out the high, and it just kind of makes this stair step. Good example right here of kind of a washout stair step, where here's your first pullback candle. As soon as this green candle comes in, you're thinking bullish. Well, when this red candle comes in, you're clear out underneath this. Maybe I'm getting off topic here, Charles, but the first example was one that I would take weight to. But looking at this 15-minute candle, I'm going to try, as soon as this kind of starts putting in a red move, I'm going to try and make this move into 3 green candles. So there's my 15. You can see your 30-minute. You have 2 healthy green candles of increased volume. I want to see this continue. Now, I already know that my gap fill and my 618 is at 121 and 119. So if this puts in a green candle and starts wicking into that level, I'm already telling myself that, hey, a reasonable pullback into the middle of this green move seems healthy. So if I put that retracement right here, my halfway of that green move is a 111 and a 108. My 702 and my last retracements are at 107. So if this ends up wicking into this sort of trim window that we have marked, I'd be looking for pullbacks into the middle of this green move, and I'd want to see it continue. At the end of the day, I want to see it discredit this. As soon as it discredits 123, your last retracement, I'm going to get very bullish, and I'd look at this as a neckline. So let's get rid of, if this is a confirmed high or low, it would have to take out this high for it to set a higher high. So that is where your neckline break comes into play. Now, the same way I use the retracement from here to here, I would look at this entirety of a move, and you can see your first rejection comes at that first retracement. You could also say kind of a flat bottom break. Hold, 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 gives it up, and no retest. Is this a retest of it? Maybe. So if this does kind of reject this flat bottom right here, the next thing that I would try to say, is there some sort of a trend line sort of channel that's being built right here? So if we reject, do we need to kind of trade in this channel where enough higher lows, enough respect of this trend line, are we going to see green engulfing to break through that? If we were, so let's hypothetically say we're going to follow this channel, and then eventually we're going to get that break higher, right? Well, the next thing I would say is this going to be a retracement where my 702 is up to 203, so a rejection of 2, and my 618 has some tops, reject, reject, reject. I'd say that meets up very well right there. And I'd say my gap fill for a false wick, just because it gets through that final retracement, you could see a heavy order off of this gap down right here. So playing, and that just so happens to come right at a 225. So there's, like I said, thousands of different perspectives to take a look. You want to try and find as much confluence between all of these different trading styles and come to a conclusion that, hey, this looks like a reasonable investment. Hey, this looks like a reasonable trade that I can take. But at the end of the day, up 10%, I would just say, even though it's light volume, you can see a slight pickup in the volume. Not much, but a slight pickup based off of everything that I just said right there. I don't know. I would like to see more points of contact for this trend line to call it something like this. This is just kind of putting it on the map as, okay, is it going to follow something like this? Because, I mean, you never really know until it happens. So that's where you got to take the information. If you think one thing's going to happen and something else happens that you're not expecting, you got to be able to take that information on the go, on the fly, and be able to tell yourself, okay, where was I wrong in my first analysis? Where can I be better on the analysis that takes place now? Where can I be better moving forward? Uh, but we are looking at a 30-minute chart right here. If we switch this back to a 15, I would say breaking over top of this wick high, you have an intraday gap right there. Do we need to come down and fill it? We do have a fresh positive break. 108 is pretty much in the middle. You got the 101 bottoms and you got the 116 top. So call the 1 bottom, 116 top. 108 meets right in the middle of this green move. Do we need to pull back to the middle? And when we do pull back, what do the candles look like? Is it you can see the wick of buying pressure right here, right? Does the next candle trade red engulfing and then close with a wick? I want to see a wick of buying at the end of each 15-minute candle for it to be something that would really interest me. Uh, and I wish I could just think off the top of my head of a great example, but I really can't. The only thing I could say is Soundhound. If we go to this daily chart, you see how this first candle puts it on the map. This is a good example of a bull flag that's potentially not going to work. So we see this first red candle come in. We know that we have this gap fill right here. We fill the gap. Okay, we have some gap fill buyers. Well, you put this red candle in. It's a red engulfing. You're expecting selling pressure in the middle of this in some way, shape, or form. It tries to discredit it, and then we give out those lows. Well, now we have a descending channel that we have to worry about. And we had to adjust this uptrend. We don't know if this uptrend is anything legit, but then the strength is your biggest key. So if this is going to discredit this trend line and our levels, there's no way it's going to give you a positive break. You're going to start sloping back down. If I get this positive break, it's going to have to break this channel and put in some sort of move. Now, do we have a catalyst for this to move higher? Any large moves, I want to know what that retracement is. Boom. Where are we pushing up to right now? Our first retracement. Where's our next retracement? Well, we have a gap fill in front of it, and we're playing in front of a 3 level, which also has a 316 gap. So a couple different areas of resistance that we could sort of look for right there. Now my 702 also has a gap down right at it. So if this gives me a full 702 retracement, there's no way that I would be able to tell myself that, yeah, we're going to stay bullish. We'd expect some sort of selling pressure from that. But leading to the example I was trying to set forth is that each one of these wicks, even though we're giving up that support level, you can see the wick of buying. It's just not a full red engulfing candle to the downside. NVOS probably has some examples of sort of how it plays out. Now, this is a great green candle. Now, from this moment on, we're not sure if this is going to be a descending channel. We don't know if it's going to be an ascending channel. What's the tell? This wick gives you an opportunity for this to be an ascending channel. So you can see, if we were just looking at this, we'll get rid of this and this. If we're just looking at this, we're saying that this is the possibility that we have for this to play out. As long as it's holding these lows. Now we see this green candle kind of discredit a little bit. Now what happens right after that? 1, 2, 3. Each one with a wick of buying pressure. As soon as it takes out this high, you're taking this channel out. You're taking this channel out and you're saying, okay, we have an ascending channel right here. Now what happens when we set this green candle, we set a wick high, we got a red candle that we're expecting some selling pressure in. Wick, 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 wick. Now it closes like this, but you can see how it's building that little smiley face right there. Well, we discredit this channel at the open of next trading day when we gap up over it and trade down and retest these highs. So now it's like, okay, where can we adjust this? There's not really, if we just cleared our chart and said there's not really anything that we can say, well, now that we get this top, you could say that, okay, maybe something right there and maybe something right there. But as we start getting these wicks, we are telling ourselves that, hey, let's just map out these lows, mark these wick lows right here, and then we can see if we adjust the top end that we have a potential channel that's building right here. We trade sideways long enough, and when this channel gives up, boom, red engulfing. Well, now it's starting to catch a bid. This is a great example of, on this move, it's super light volume. So even though you have three green candle nice moves, you have a first good candle that's not half bad. It tries to take out the highs, but boom, now you're taking out the lows. Is this something that I'm going to want to keep holding for a bull flag extension when you're off of your channel? You have light volume that has no follow through, and now you're taking out the low of your first pullback candle. Not something that I'd want to see right there. But back to GNS. Let's take a look back at GNS. I know GNS is, I feel you have a little bit of emotional ties to GNS. Now, I could be wrong there, Charles. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. But based off this look, you can see that you're getting a little bit increased volume compared to what it's been doing when it's just on this sort of downtrend. But honestly, this is the volume I'd want to be looking for an extension move, where 1, 2, your third candle discredits your lows. So is this something that you're going to have faith in off your 21? Maybe not so much. You have a tight descending channel. But look at what happens. You get a fake out candle that breaks this tight channel, but what do? Your first pullback candle is very important. You see, just marking those lows, all we did was put a wick up and reject it. Gap down the next day, continuation. Now we have a potential channel that's building. Am I going to hold any weight to this? No, not so much yet. I got to see it be able to, one, I want to see it fill this gap. I want to see it take that out of the way. If it rejects from that, so be it. I want to see it discredit that gap. I don't want any big selling off of that gap. Uh, Maybe I'm just over talking. I don't know. Uh, but in terms of GNS, uh, I can always get back in at a different time, but this chart setup with this larger move down, it just gives me the feel like this could be a bear flag, where if this is your move, 1, 2, 3, you're on candle number 3. If it's going to discredit it, it's going to take out 31s, which is that neckline break. We go back to the 15, that is that neckline break. So that's what you're looking for in discrediting it. But I would say this is a bear flag that's taking place. All it would take is a frowny face and boom. So it's one that I would be careful with, Charles. And even if there is emotional ties, you got to be able to tell yourself at the end of the day, what type of company is this? Are they fundamentally sound financially? Are they sitting on a good balance sheet? Does their business model bring in free cash flow that can keep them afloat? If they don't have free cash flow and they don't have the cash to be able to, hold tight, then uh, that comes into perspective that they're going to have to dilute shares to be able to stay afloat. When you add more liquidity uh, out there, more shortable shares, more increases the pie. When you're increasing the total shares outstanding, if you have 100 shares and there's a million and there's 1,000 shares total, you have 10%, right? Well, now they issue, and now there's 10,000 shares. You still have the same 100 shares. Now you go from owning 10% to only owning 1%. So, in terms of just having something that you punched in long and I'm holding, uh, you gotta add as many factors in as possible. But I will say that this is a setup that I'm not interested in holding over the close because, in all honesty, I think that you risk a gap down where if this is a bear flag, your bear flag, as soon as it takes out 95, is going to be shoom, straight down. Now, there is some positives. You have a nice green move where your original entry is a 702 and a 75, which is your original positive breakdown here. If you run this move higher, this 92, this is your sort of bear flag look where if it takes out those 90s, it might not even care about this 80, 85. It might not care about 75. And before you know it, you're trading back down here at the lows. And it's like, dang. And then you're trying to tell yourself, well, this is support. I can buy 50. And then before you know it, you're down here at 30. And then before you know it, they're doing a share split. And it's a rinse and repeat. It's just uh, gap being the 108, 118, I believe that gap is at where we gap down from. I mean, it has a gap from 225s. It's going to need some work to be able to take that out. But from Tuesday to Wednesday, you have this gap right here at 120s. And I'd say those lows meet in at 117, which is kind of what's setting this up right now. So now that we have first pullback candle, uh, it is a red candle, shaved red bottom. So how is it going to act if it catches a bid into these 130? So we're at 113. If it catches a bid up to, let's say, 114 to be generous, but 113 half, is it going to start wicking into this? And now when it takes out this low, do we need to retrace back down potentially to like a 108? Seems reasonable in my humble opinion. I don't know, thousands of different perspectives, and maybe I'm just being super confusing. It's very possible. But looking elsewhere, I would say uh, today, I mean, GROM was a little bit of a uh, and back down to 5. So I mean, we could have played this name so much better. We had 604s, we had 6s, and we had 74s on this candle. Best trim was a 878, and we only had 40% of the position taken out. It was a very good learning experience to go off of, simply because I'm not the most experienced with halt names. So we get a halt at 670, we get a halt at 7 something, and then we get these wick pressures where we were just trying to identify where this potential extension could go. And all we did was sort of map out this flat top and said it opened up above this 8. We took a piece off that 878, and before we knew it, we were halted back down to these 740s, and uh, uh, boom, right back down into 75s, and boom, right back into 6, and just been a slow churn to the downside. So GROM, we could have played it so much better. We were in on a home run trade, one that we had size onto. It's the only thing that really showed us anything off the open, where it put in this green candle and we said, hey, we can give it a try. We had outs at 40s. We were sitting there like, wow, are we really just gonna take a L right on the chin right off the open? And sure enough, it freaking ends up panning out. I don't know how it did, but yeah, that was. Other than that, we took a piece off of MS. I mean, I don't know if you're still there, Charles, but this is a good example of you have relatively decent volume compared to this chop action, but a nice move. Here's your first candle. Now you can see this small smiley face being made. If this can take out this 8, which just so happens to come out at 840 level, you can see we have a catalyst. We already have an alert off 860. If that triggers us, we're looking to take pieces off of. Mr. Drift, good to have you here. You're good, I understand. Yeah, sorry if I'm being confusing though in any way, shape, or form. I rewatch your videos anyways. I think uh, I have an all right understanding, but I still have a lot to go. So there's many times in my stream, sometimes I watch back my streams. I'm like, dude, this from an outside view would be very hard uh, to to pick up. But I do appreciate rewatching the videos. Just trying to be consistent with it, trying to take as many different perspectives as possible, and just looking at the price action, seeing what I can learn is what I try to do. Drift, nice to have you in here. Oh man, that Grom trade, Drift. We thought we were going to have just the absolute home run of home run trades when this started halting. Just We did have an 878 fill, but then just before we knew it, it was halted back down at 770s. We open up underneath 7 and right back in. We did get one more 667 fill before we ended up getting out at 584s. So we had one fill that was higher than that, but I mean, what do you do? Uh, Going back to the names, TGTX, just continuing to show this churn. Good example of sideways trading. Nice green candle move, trade sideways. Now, what does it do when it's able to take out these highs? We think 1150s is an area we want to start taking pieces off of TGTX, but a new one we're in, out of the money. But you can see on the daily chart what we're trying to accomplish here. And we're not sure if we're going to get it or not. But been trading sideways for a heck of a long time. Uh, we haven't really looked at the earnings report. Okay, I would just say that this move is a factor of those earnings, but as soon as you took out this sort of flat top, you gap up over it, boom. We like the green candle. We think that the buying that came in off of this candle is going to be able to hold it, and if we're right, we're going to get another leg up. But we're going to need like a 780 break. So just trying to chip in early entries uh, before this 780 break. If it comes into play, we're going to have a winner. If it goes against us, we'll probably put outs. We can go wick top, so that's a 720 break, and the body candle of yesterday is 25, so a couple decent areas, but we got 44s and we got 37s, and we got the 44s in this candle and we got the 37s in this candle. We basically just said, hey, let's mark this wick top, let's take it if it's there, and we tested over the 750s once and twice, but wasn't able to get any follow through this time. We think that it still has a chance. It has a nice move and probably some sort of uptrend. So if it pulls back into those 720s, we really want to see these previous highs like 730s continue to get bought up. But Invos is a done deal. Drift. We ended up getting stopped out while we were at work. We got our phone buzzed and we said, yep, that was probably the NVAX. But we didn't see any better spot to put this other than these wick lows at 30s. And there you can see it try the hold. This is where we officially got stopped out, right in this candle. And boom, as soon as 30s didn't give our hold, that is what kind of the line in the sand is. But trying to catch a bid today, you can see a light volume type of pull and a false break of this. No buying. You can see the volume. When you're sitting here looking at a green candle and you're trying to decide whether I want to buy this or not, it's an easy stay away. Look at the volume. There's no volume. When you're seeing a breakout like this, it for a typical breakout, you're looking for that volume to be close to this last candle right there. So the reason that it wasn't, you got to ask yourself what's going on here. Uh, but I am going to take a small break. I'll be right back if you guys are still there. Uh, but we will be back. I just got to go to the bathroom and get some more coffee. And we are back. Other notables. ATHM, trying the churn up, tested back down to the uptrend. Warner Bros. Giving out the lows on a stair step. Needs to work some levels out still, it looks like. Let's look at the daily here. You can see right in near this support. Is it going to be able to catch a bid? Full red engulfing. It looks like continuation. You can see the tight channel to the downside right here. BTI trying to wick into this gap. Intel looks strong, taking out the highs. IIPR test up to 90s seems reasonable. Soundhound, kind of the same little chart setup as ASTS. BABA, nice wick into that gap and the trend line. I would say that is a very interesting look and a reasonable trend line to maybe try. You're flirting around this middle ground. Kind of giving you that fresh positive break reclaims and hovering around this middle. If this trend line holds, this is going to be looked at as a neckline for a potential 95 break coming in later next week, maybe faster than you know it, but then potentially breaking the trend line would send you down to this support. I wouldn't trust that support. I would actually say this gap, and then after that you're looking at 80 flat support. So a couple different ways of looking at that. Amps is still trading in this little wedge pattern. Geo tried to take out the high, has some buyers here. End phase leaving that wick low, so to anybody who is running this tight stop underneath 120s, sorry, you're gone, stopped out. Have fun, see you later, bye bye. Honestly, I'm looking for this to continue getting pushed down, but looking at the 15-minute, you can see initial stops probably getting bought up and then more stops coming in right here on increased volume. I would say those are piss poor outs, and people should do some more due diligence on the company, because I truly believe they are going to regret selling this name. I really think you're selling it near the lows. It maybe you have some more short pressure that sends us down into the low hundreds. But long-term mindset with this company is I would not be surprised to see 150s printing before you know it. You have a gap fill and these previous lows, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this descending channel get discredited on some sideways action, and before you know it, 220 gap. I would be shocked if this wasn't printing 220s over the next couple years. And I think it's a very reasonable long-term investment. And anybody who just got stopped out in today, I think they're truly going to regret stopping out of this company. But we'll see how this acts down here at the 113s. If it gets down there, I think that's a really good support level. And I think it's a really good add. Personal opinion, just a guy. NVAX 10% down day. A nice red candle. So for this nice 3 candle move, 1, 2, 3. Has the channel look, but a large red engulfing. I'd like to see this wick start getting put in. TGTX printing towards the day's high here. I don't know if you're still there or not, Drift, but how about Path? Man, oh man, do we wish we had this. Look how close it gets to 1450. Ah, man. I mean, this is one that we should have had a market order in, honestly, though. We should have had a market order somewhere in this move, at least when it takes out this neckline. Buy it higher and don't care. But now breaking over top of this descending channel, strong volume, top into the channel in the 20s. I mean, that is uh, this is an ideal setup of just punch along, just punch it. Honestly, if we had the information like we did, looking at this green move, this adds another wrench into the play where your 702 is what it bounces off of right there. And getting super close down to that 14 level would have been, I'm sure, if it was there in the pre-market or the after hours, those were very good ads off 14 flat. And yeah, very frustrating not to have that long. That would be over $3 in the money at this moment in time, and probably going to be much more in the money a couple weeks down the road. But this was, I mean, this was one that we should have had. We should have had this name, and it's very frustrating that we don't. We talked about it multiple times. That doesn't mean I'm a genius. That just means I didn't put my money where my mouth was. So it don't mean crap. That's what it comes down to. It don't mean shit. Don't mean squat. My bad. Don't mean squat if you don't put your money where your mouth is. I mean, it's plain as that simple. Plain and simple. Don't mean squat if you don't put your money where your mouth is. Orkiva has a nice sideways action here. Uh, TNGX given the descending channel look like that. Let's take a look at some of these big cappers. Meta on a straight whodunk. Amazon holding a nice bull flag, has a descending channel. Microsoft trying to hold the level. Tesla looks like if it started curling, I would say you're going to have a lot of people looking for this flat bottom breakdown. But it is a support level we have marked. But trend line seems reasonable for a retest. MSOS, here is that bull flag continuation starting to come on in. Boom, boom, starting to turn higher. What's key is, your volume is actually telling you that, hey, this could be a false break of the high. Right at 850, we have 7 minutes left of this candle, so we'd want to see this volume really start picking up. Let's see it get more than 70K, so it needs to double in volume from this moment forward, and we would believe it a little bit more. GNS red candle number 2 didn't give the stair step look though. That is a plus. So it makes me feel like this 108 is actually a little bit better. Oil looking like oil slight red, giving up the sideways action. Given the look of actually a little bit of retracement, you can see those wick tops coming into that 702 like a clock. I'd say you have a trend line setting up. If it breaks that trend line, you're looking for a wave pattern. 1, 2, 3.
catches some bid in this support area. 4, 5, down to these previous highs, which is also a support level. 86. But is that the start of something where then from this move, it just a rinse and repeat. Does this catch a bid up to 87s, which then cracks that down to this support level, which is your previous high. That catches a bid to the previous low, or then you see a flush, probably down into this sort of neckline, retest at 82s. Look at the daily chart. Early signs of it. I know that's probably a lot of mumbo jumbo, but back on track. TGTX, really looking for this to test up to these 50s. You can see it's not getting a lot of volume, kind of a washout top look, sideways consolidation. How does it act when it pulls into these tops? So at 1128, maybe put that into these wick tops a little bit right there, which we're pretty much there. I want to see this volume start to pick up and be a healthy green candle is what we're looking for. And then TNGX, given the descending channel look, we're still monitoring it. Other than that, maybe end phase. But given the feel like, hey, this needs to test back down here, we really just want to see this get alerted. And, we want to see bottom end of the channel here. Soundhound, it did have the strength to push up, fill that 240 gap. ATHM, if it pulls back into this trend line, I think we're going to keep trying to respect it, honestly. I mean, you see the level that we're trying to respect here. It probably has a longer set downtrend like that, but you can see the catalyst that we could have had some trims into the downtrend yesterday, but we shied away from it today. We didn't shy away from it the day before, but now that we kind of have our position the way we want, we can think about it if it comes back in again. But I want to see it retrace up, fill that gap some way, shape, or form. I'll be bullish over 30 on the name. Other than that, another China name going off at ATHM. Baba filled the gap. Baba tested the trend. I'd say your strength hovering around that middle ground is reasonable. And your weekly strength is also right around that middle ground. So if this is going to pan out for you, you're looking for a 95 break where I'd expect some good buying pressure. 95 could potentially send you over top of this 101 neckline. An extension is your gap at 118, which is a flat top. You got a flat top test, wedge pattern build. If you're able to break those 120s, I'd say, maybe this 160. It's going to have some resistance to fight through, but I think it's going to blast through that when that day comes. But that 160 meets up. Those are your lows, and then you have your gap fill for your dream move. I mean, just an opinion, but I think it's a reasonable trend line. And I mean, we were talking about it the last 3 days, saying, I mean, it's building the neckline, comes back down, fills the gap, tests the trend line for protection. Well, filled the gap, trend line protection, boom. Buyers coming on in. You look at a 15-minute chart here, just a slow churn. So, I mean, looking at this, you're expecting this to get rejected. So any type of high or low set off of this trend line, I think could really pan out. And if you're lucky, you get a test up to 90 1/2, and it just coils, and then boom, you get that green engulfing to test up probably to the lows, maybe fills the gap. You probably have some resistance right here, which is why we probably gap down below 92. Uh, but I think Baba's a reasonable sort of look. NVAX, we want to see this candle close with a wick. But it's been a fun name. We'll hold it as long as this channel can hold. But if we get out underneath the channel, we can set wick lows underneath. We could just stay true to the 791 out, 790 out. It keeps it as a nice green trade, and go from there. But if it wants to pan out sort of like an ascending channel, we're looking for extensions up into this red move. We got some tops meeting in right over here. But the flat top up here at 1250s isn't out of the question. Dream move if it breaks the channel, 17s. Looking around for some other movers on the day. Let's look at top volume and just see. We know Path is going to be our first. Fubo's trading sideways. Mara is slight green. Still a weak name, but trading in the middle of this green candle has a chance. Airlines, we want to see airlines keep selling off. We're going to be very interested for American 1350. What's DAL looking like? Still following the descending channel. We like this 40 level. A retest of those 40 seems reasonable, but weak name. Honestly, we wouldn't be surprised to see upper 30s or a retest of the downtrend that we have, or just a test. So you have the downtrend and your uptrend as protection, and your long-term trend in the low 30s for more protection. Oil's probably still the strong name to go with, in my humble opinion, but you're buying it much higher than you could be. So tough to tell. Maybe cannabis. Cannabis has a lot of strength in it. It's green on the day, at least this ETF is. Is it going to be able to pan out higher? We did get a little bit of jump, early move in that volume. If it's able to push higher, maybe. Retest of 44s could catch a bid. And then we got DocuSign earnings after hours, so it's going to be interesting to see that play out. It's down 0.25% on the day. You can see the gap down getting bought up quick. It actually had the strength to fill this gap right here. Looking at the NASDAQ still just trying to hold these levels. Is that going to be something that can build right there? Probably not, but maybe. TNGX following this descending channel, but we like this trend line that it has. If it can hold this trend line, we think that it can be something that pans out. But other than that, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go let the dogs out. On a side note though, I think BAC has a reasonable opportunity to set the neckline, reject the lows. If it gets over 2850s again, you'll know you've got a good fill. We'll be back. And we're back. TGTX sitting right around there. TNGX wicking into the bottom end of the channel, following it nicely. NVAX trying to catch a small bid. Path up to 18. Tesla, it would have came down here. It looks like a short. Takes out the start of the gap and now pushing higher. Take a decent look. See how that's acting with the market. Kind of the same look, except for the market tested the low. As soon as this starts filling the gap, does it start catching a bid? Nice confirmed higher low potentially. Let's take a look and see what the old GROM is doing. Pally, all the ways back in. Where's your tail? There's your channel, if you want to call it that. AMC still trading down. The go-to. Let's take a look at it. We trading down to support yet. Entered that oversold area. TGTX still trying to churn higher. Holding above that low. Nice wick pressure. Bottom end of the channel. MSOS wicking into the level. Set an alert on BAC. What alerts do we have out there right now? End phase, that's not coming in for a while. MSOS, just in case. IMPP, we set an alert on that today. Set an alert for that break of the neckline, kind of a false gap up. Not ready yet, but if it does break that neckline, it is going to be tempting. Where you have easy out at the start of the gap from a 150. I'm going to put that at a 152. Easy out If it does work for you, you'll know. If it doesn't, just play some levels to the downside. But we can probably take that alert off for right now, actually. Let's take this alert off right there. We already had the stop in. Let's take this alert off right here. Do we have anything else? TGTX. Yeah, that we'll have our eyes on TGTX. And let's go see if we can get anything else set out there for it. Um, TGTX, we're just looking for 1050s. We're going to start trimming the position down. And maybe a push up for the top, flat top, hold a piece for the dream. We can respect bottom wick that we're looking to respect is 1325s. 14s. If our dream move comes in, we can trim the gap at 20s. I would expect it to be a long consolidation pattern for that, but you can see these 15s as our first retracement. So if something does want to come in, we'll start respecting these retracements, and then right in front of that second one's right near our gap. So if it does want to catch a bid, we're just going to follow and respect this all the ways to the upside. If it comes back in, we can think about adding some, but I'd like to get a trim and then try reloads off the original 8 or 1080 break that we're looking for. Uh, no, TGT or TNGX. I'm getting tired of saying these names. Candle has now turned green. Following the channel, if we get this break over 740s, we think that's going to be a catalyst for our continuation. If we get a 760 break over today's high, that is what we're going to be looking for. We got a couple entries on the name. We would have been down to buy more if it retested the top, the closing price of yesterday, and it did. That's exactly where it tested. You can see it right here. This is the closing price of yesterday. It came down, put that 2 pennies off, gave a decent little test. Other than that, I'd say Intel is probably your safe play. Nice consolidation if you're looking for a scalp higher. I think 40s is top end of the channel. That looks a lot better today than it did the last 2 days when it was rejecting the flat top. But I mean, I don't see how else you can play this except for a continuation. Which, if you're lucky, that gap fill before the 40s. So you got a couple different out areas to go for. But I mean, this is a name that I mean couldn't have been a better played position. Just retesting the downtrend. I mean, we've been holding this puppy for quite some time. It's nice to actually throw it out there and say, hey, this looks pretty good. Uh, but breaks the downtrend, boom, nice bull flag, sets the flat top, consolidation. As soon as it takes out that secondary flat top, boom, sets top into the channel, trades right back into the entry, boom, flat top, trades right back into the entry, double bottom higher low. Here's a nut up or shut up candle, and then a churn higher since then. So Intel, I'd say it's reasonable for continuation. Your strength still isn't here, where Intel, your strength is very elevated, and a lot of really good volume coming in, taking out the highs. Anybody short is losing it right now. Geo, just waiting for a 750 break, not able to get it. FER, notable candle, puts in a nut up or shut up candle. You got the confirmed higher low. You reject the neckline 1, 2. Boom, take it out, hold, and now kind of a false break. But the buyer's coming in at the back end of this candle. Anybody putting a stop loss underneath of this, you are saved by the grace of the Lord. Saved by the grace of the Lord, where, that's not my type of style, but I know some people might have. But I'm not surprised this didn't come on in down to test this trend line that we have set. The double bottom comes in right off of it. I'm sure you have some sort of channel build, false breakout on the earnings date, gives it up right away. I wouldn't be surprised if this just built a slow churn, sets up this flat top here at these 30s, and when you break that 30, that is actually going to be your neckline little look right there, in my opinion. End phase, I feel bad for the people that put stop losses here at 120s. I'm expecting the price to keep coming down, but uh,
to expect those same people to get the entry that they want, I just think it's a long. I wouldn't be thinking anything other than long with this name unless you're trying to get moved from like 120 down to 113. But I'd say that support level down in these low 100s is gonna be monstrous. My opinion, of course. I don't know. DocuSign earnings after hours, catching a nice little bid, almost going red to green, giving the gap up, filled the gap already. Can we get a move higher is what we're looking for. But other than that, that's going to call it for today, guys. Unless I see we have someone watching, that's probably Drift. But NVAX reclaimed nines. I don't see any reason why it can't test back down to these 850s, give or take, plus or minus. But looking at it as a potential channel being built, but if it has to crack that channel, the bigger picture is your look down to these 750s, where we're looking at outs underneath 8 and reload back into the position at 750 to 7, give or take. That's what we're going to be looking for. Drift's always there. Drift's always there. Yeah, I'm just really tired. My dog was sick. Didn't get any sleep. Uh, just to keep going over some of these names, I'd say GM potentially miss a buying opportunity off this trend line, but if it keeps acting on this trend line, we are going to have some more bot of GM. Soundhound and A and Space Mobile, kind of the same exact look. Potential trend line with a tight descending channel. If it's going to work for us, we're going to see a 410 break, but until that happens, we just don't know. Soundhound, same story. Tight channel to the downside. We should have that marked in. We did have a fill at the 30s, so nothing to brag about with this name yet. But if this pans out, we're looking for a 270 break. If we get stopped out before that and then the 270 break comes in, I'm going to chuck something across the room. But we'll see what happens when that day comes. ATHM continuing to hold this trend line. I don't see why, if it comes back down there again, why I wouldn't be interested in buying it. I think I would be very interested in buying it. BAC, if you reclaim those 850, those 2850s, I would say you got a trend line hold, your long-term trend line as protection, which comes into some support levels. Look at a 15-minute chart. I mean, you got the neckline built right at these 2850s. You have a tight descending channel. I just think the buyers are going to over exceed the selling, and you're going to see this break, probably trade sideways a little bit, catch a bid, reject, and then give the bull flag break for the neckline of 2850. That's how I see it playing out, but you never know how it's going to actually go. PayPal, I want to see PayPal come back in. You see all the mess of lines that we have in here. That's what we're looking for. DFS, I mean, 20 or 88.75 gap. We're gonna have the open order there, and we're gonna respect it. We're gonna play this low. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it has some levels down in the 80s that we can regroup and go after. IIPR, top end of the channel, maybe a 90, 90, 50. Looking to get a first trim on the name. Been holding it for quite some time. I think we got an average somewhere in these 70s, and we held it against us, collected 1, 2 dividends from when we started the position. Looking to collect a third, but we are looking to get a trim on the name finally. Other than that, I'd say the safe play in terms of large cap, I'd say is your BABA. You got the gap fill and the trend line as protection. It might have to trade sideways a little bit. If it quadunks on you, you have a chance for this support to hold, but I would expect gap fill and support after that. I mean, that's all we got for you. I guess amps is the last one that we haven't talked about. Still trading in the range. No reason to do anything with the position yet. Could have maybe tried to add 25s, but once it got the fill, would have missed that fill by 1 penny. Would have missed that fill by 1 penny. But honestly, this trend line is reasonable and something that we're going to be looking for. Yeah, other than that, keep an end phase on watch.
And Devon, oil might be giving up a little bit of strength, but pullback seems reasonable if you're looking at it as a retracement. Direct correlation with that 702. Instantly when I see that, I'm already thinking that, hey, this could be a wave pattern that needs to transpire, where you give out the lows, you have some lows to come into over here, catch a bit off those lows, reject the previous low, and get a move down to your support level over here, give or take, just marking a line, something like that. So oil could be setting up bearish, but all it would take is for this low to hold. If it breaks over, if you see oil above 88, uh, strap in, because it's going to be testing this flat top and setting it up. Probably going to have some sort of trend line, but you can see the catalyst. If the trend line breaks, boom, that's going to be your red engulfing down to support, retest, boom. I ain't got nothing else for you guys. That's it. I mean, that's a pretty broad breakdown of a lot of names right there. Charles, I see you're still here. We'll take a look at GNS. Right into that 108 level. A little bit of a red engulfing at 1, 2, 3. Does have the light volume, so if it does want to start giving a curl up, you want to see it take out this little 15 minutes straight where it just sat there at 110. You want to see it discredit that and just hold the level. If it discredits 110, you want to see as high of a push as possible, and that way if it comes back into 107 and holds, uh, wherever this next pop goes, you want it to go as high as possible, but as high as it goes, that is going to be the setup of either the flat top or a neckline. So if it pushes up to like 114, I'd look at it as a flat top, maybe break. If it only goes to like 110, that'd be setting up a neckline for a potential breakthrough. That if it discredits that, I would caution playing it like a trend line. I wouldn't call this a trend line yet, but if it did catch action off of it above 1, you do not want to see this break down 1, in my opinion. That probably goes without saying. But that, for real, is going to call the live stream, unless you guys got anything for me before I leave. Got about 20 seconds. 20 seconds, I'll give you. You too, Drift. I appreciate that. I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Peace.